Roisin McAliskey's republicanism is not in doubt, but the evidence connecting her to an IRA bomb attack is. The Germans believe they can prove it, but after 7 months in prison and a further 8 on bail under psychiatric care, she is yet to be charged. And even if she is extradited, it could be at least another 12 months before any trial begins. Conor Macaulay has been looking for the insight into a case McAliskey believes is simply an RUC conspiracy, something the police strenuously deny.
The tone of this meeting, this gathering together of Corsana Roisin, the neighbours of Roisin, is to show Roisin that we haven't forgot about her, especially at this time of the year.
4 days before Christmas, and on the shores of Lough Neagh, neighbours of Roisin McAliskey gather at a rally in support of her.
People are doing more than they think. People remember her in their thoughts and prayers, and she draws strength from that. And people who are always coming up to us, asking about her, sending a wee card to her, all those things. People without whom we wouldn't have managed. The people who give you, without even mentioning they've done it, the people who drop £1 or £5 in your pocket. It's hard earned, and I know many people can't afford to part with. That is given with a heart and a hand.
Roisin McAliskey has been detained for almost 15 months now, on the foot of a German extradition warrant alleging that she was involved in an IRA mortar attack on a British Army barracks at Osnabrück almost 2 years ago. She has not been charged with any offence. No one was injured in that attack. Behind these locked gates is the secluded house rented by the IRA gang which bombed Quebec barracks at Osnabrück in June of '96. The German authorities claim Roisin McAliskey was a member of that unit. She's consistently denied it. As the law stands, the Germans didn't have to produce any evidence against McAliskey when they requested her extradition. Her legal team says not only do they question the validity of the evidence the authorities here claim to have, but if the case ever comes to trial, they will produce alibi witnesses who can vouch for the 25-year-old's presence in Northern Ireland at times when the prosecutors claim she was here planning the attack.
I know that Roisin has not been to Germany. I know that Roisin has never been to Germany.
It's a terrible case in every way. It's terrible because the evidence is so awful, really, frankly. It's appalling.
What was Roisin's broad political milieu? It was Republican. And that's not a problem for me, not a problem for Roisin, and ought not to be a reason for what has happened to her. Being a Republican is not a criminal offence.
Osnabrück was bombed in June, but it was November before Roisin McAliskey, now 2 months pregnant, was arrested at her Coal Island home, having just moved back there from West Belfast. She was detained not in connection with Osnabrück, but as part of an investigation into the explosion at Thiepval Barracks in Lisburn the previous month, in which a soldier died. The day she was arrested, Roisin McAliskey was at home with her partner Sean McCutter. He's a former IRA prisoner who served 6 years for possession of explosives.
Myself and Roisin were on our way to the local hospital for Roisin's first antenatal check. And just we were almost literally on our way out the door when I saw all these cars, armoured cars, pulling up outside the house. And the RUC came up and said we let them in, said they were going to search the house. And I heard the word arrest being mentioned, and it was actually an RUC woman said to Roisin, you know, we're going to arrest you. And I was thinking I'd heard this wrong, you know, but I heard the word arrest, right? And that's what struck me. And I ran out into the hallway, and Roisin said, they're going to arrest me. And I was shocked, and the first thing I thought of was, you know, she's pregnant, you know, and I said it to these RUC people who were there, and they were shocked, you know, and they sort of stood back for a second and looked, and the RUC woman says, well, it doesn't matter, we're arresting her.
It seemed that over a period of some weeks before that, other young women had been arrested, and I think the total number may have been 6 to 8, I'm not sure. But all of those young women had, if you like, a common profile. They were all computer literate, not necessarily all with third level education, but all with that degree, if you like, of organisational capacity or articulateness or whatever, but they, and all of them had either personal relationships or day-to-day contact with Republicans who would have been identified as ex-prisoners or members of Sinn Féin or whatever, and all of them would have worked in a welfare or social capacity somewhere on the fringes of either republicanism or nationalism.
Roisin McAliskey was taken to Castlereagh Detention Centre in East Belfast. Around the same time as her and the other arrests, the premises of various community groups in the west of the city were searched and computers confiscated. It's believed the RUC was trawling for evidence of a terrorist database of potential high-profile targets. McAliskey's interrogation in Castlereagh seemed to centre on Republicans she'd known and socialised with in West Belfast, including Bobby Storey, the man who led the IRA breakout from the maze in 1983 and who, by that stage, was already on remand, accused of possessing information likely to be of use to terrorists.
She was never questioned about Thiepval Barracks, nor was she questioned about potential involvement in Germany. What she was basically questioned about was her knowledge of Republicans in Belfast. And there was, in fact, most of the time was spent insulting Roisin, her mother, her pregnancy, her partner, her mother's family, Roisin's family background, her partner's family background, and generally indulging in racist, vulgar, sexist and sexual abuse about the lifestyle and habits of the Republican community. But mixed in all of that was a specific interest in the activities of members of the Republican community, specifically ex-prisoners, and specifically Bobby Storey, who was himself under arrest. The thrust of it appeared to be that either Roisin herself would be charged with organising and directing terrorism, or that Roisin alternatively would be the smaller cogwheel who was being used by people including Bobby Storey to organise and direct terrorism.